to adopt a sustainable and green approach in business practices, says businesses that have decided to set up manufacturing in India are growing due to India's competitiveness and ability to innovate and design new products. Union Communications and IT Minister Ashwini Vaishnav addresses B20 inception meeting, outlines 4 approaches undertaken by India to resolve its pressing problems: economic management, digital economy, regulation in digital economy and new technologies. India's G20 Sherpa Amitabh Kant spells out challenges before the global business community, calls for tremendous digital transformation, climate action and making global value chains resilient, says as G20's most prominent engagement group, B20 has a critical role in deliberations as the voice of the global business community. And G20's first Environment and Climate Sustainability Working Group meeting will be held from 9th to 11th February in Bengaluru, meeting to focus on promotion of blue economy and coastal sustainability, restoration of degraded lands and ecosystems, enhancement of biodiversity and strengthening of circular economy. G20's first Environment and Climate Sustainability Working Group meeting will be held from the 9th to the 11th of February in Bengaluru. Besides taking part in the deliberations, G20 delegates will be taken on an excursion to the Bannerghatta Biological Park, which will showcase state-of-the-art butterfly park and animal safaris. They will also witness the rich legacy of Karnataka's handicrafts and textiles and the rich cultural and artistic heritage of the state. Here's a primer on what to expect from the first meeting of the G20 Environment and Climate Sustainability Working Group.
वन वर्ल्ड एक शब्द क्लाइमेट के संदर्भ में वन वर्ल्ड एक विश्व का मूल आधार बन सकता है, अधिष्ठान बन सकता है। ये एक शब्द है लाइफ, LIFE, यानी लाइफ स्टाइल फॉर एनवायरमेंट। आज जरूरत है कि हम सभी लोग एक साथ आकर कलेक्टिव पार्टिसिपेशन के साथ लाइफ स्टाइल फॉर एनवायरमेंट यानी लाइफ को एक अभियान की तरह आगे बढ़ाएं।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi unveiling LIFE, a one-word movement and a new mantra for sustainable development at COP26 in Glasgow in November 2021. It is one of the several path-breaking initiatives rolled out by India for making the environment and climate sustainable. Under its G20 presidency, India will be hosting the first Environment and Climate Sustainability Working Group meeting from 9th to 11th February in Bengaluru. The working group will have 4 focus areas: promotion of blue economy along with coastal sustainability, restoration of degraded lands and ecosystems, enhancement of biodiversity, and strengthening of circular economy. On 12th January, Union Environment Minister Bhupendra Yadav joined Environment Ministers of the Global South in addressing the Voice of Global South Summit on balancing growth with environment-friendly lifestyles. He asserted that global climate action, guided by principles of climate justice including equity and common but differentiated responsibilities and respective capabilities, is the need of the hour. He also underscored the urgent need for financial and technological support from the developed countries to address the challenges associated with climate change.
The development of a country and the conservation of its biodiversity and ecosystem are 2 important aspects, either of which cannot be left behind. As such, there is a need for development policies to be inclusive and sustainable to reduce inequality and contribute to empowerment and improvement of the quality of people's life. India is committed to tackle the impact of climate change and support the effort of developing countries to achieve their developmental goals through necessary developmental and technical assistance.
At the summit, India reiterated its commitment to tackle impacts of climate change and support partner countries through developmental and technical assistance. It encouraged partner countries to share information for coordinated disaster response and adopt life or environmentally conscious lifestyles. India also shared its best practices such as Parivesh, a single window web portal for green governance, and global climate initiatives like International Solar Alliance, Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, and Infrastructure for Resilient States.
India has also taken initiative like the International Solar Alliance, the Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, and One Sun, One World, One Grid to ensure global solidarities for climate in developing countries and beyond. The Infrastructure for Resilient in Island States, a dedicated initiative under CDRI, we co-launched by India during the 26th Conference of Party at Glasgow in 2021 to help the small island developing states to build a sustainable and resilient infrastructure.
Environment ministers from the Global South raised various problems being faced by the small island developing states: food security, sea level rise, coastal erosion, and economic downturn due to the COVID-19 pandemic were some of the common issues raised by them. The developing coastal countries also stated the catastrophic impacts of climate change. Many developing countries highlighted the role of the adaptation policies they are developing to tackle climate change. With the Global South concerned about the lack of technological and financial support from the developed world, all eyes will be on how India will deal with the issue in a grouping that consists of both the developed and developing economies. Bureau Report, DD India.
Joining us now for Perspective is Richa Sharma. She's Additional Secretary, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, and Dr. Prateek Kanakia, Chairman and Founder, the Green Billions Limited, is also joining us. Such a pleasure to welcome the two of you on this special broadcast India at G20. Ms. Sharma, I'll begin with you. We are aware of the 4 focus areas of the working group meeting going to be held in February in Bengaluru. How were those 4 focus areas identified?
You see, India is a member of several multilateral environmental agreements. We are a member, for example, of the UN. We participate in the UN Environment Assembly. We participate in meetings of the Convention on Biodiversity, of the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. So we are already aware which are the major environmental issues and climate-related issues which are, which are at the focus of attention of the environment and climate ministers of the world. So we are aware of the global climate and environmental priorities. And when we looked at the outcomes of the discussions in the previous meetings of the G20, we already know that which issues have been agitating the G20 ministers. So on that basis, we have zeroed in on the 4 themes for the G20 Environment and Climate Sustainability Working Group pertaining to land degradation and accelerating restoration of biodiversity and ecosystems, developing a climate resilient and sustainable blue economy, and promoting resource efficiency and circular economy. So these are the priorities of the Indian G20 presidencies, and it has been, we have arrived at these priorities on the basis of our understanding of the key issues which require tackling for a sustainable planet and sustainable lifestyles. Thank you.
Right. Dr. Kanakia, to your mind, what is the most pressing challenge confronting the world in the realm of climate and environment sustainability, which you would like the working group to take up? Can you unmute yourself, sir?
Am I audible now?
Yes.
Yeah, Munmun, first of all, I must compliment our government, Honorable Prime Minister of India, after taking up the presidency of G20 2023. And to answer you, I must tell you that we've got limited natural resources. While we talk about sustainability, idea is to understand that we've borrowed this planet from our coming generations, and hence I see the concept of circular economy and recycling, reusing and reproducing our resources and creating value would be the way forward. it also has to do with my own enterprise, which is taking India's first initiative to extract green hydrogen from municipal solid waste. So I relate with it, I believe in it, and I very well see the government's perspective in the same direction, and very well appreciate their endeavors.
Right, absolutely. There is an innovative swing to how India is approaching lifestyle for environment. It's in fact also going back to its roots through the Mission Life launched by Prime Minister Narendra Modi earlier. Ms. Sharma, does India plan to push for upscaling it at a mass level around the world? Because I understand that the UNEP has said that if 1 billion out of 8 billion people around the world were to adopt environmentally sustainable lifestyles on a daily basis, global carbon emissions will come down by around 20%.
Indeed, and that was the Honorable Prime Minister's, when he championed the idea of life at the Conference of Parties at COP26 in Glasgow. The idea was to create a global mass movement of pro-planet people who would adopt sustainable lifestyles and by their individual actions considerably reduce the carbon footprint. And not just the UNEP, but also the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, for the first time ever, it has brought out in its recent report of the Working Group 3 on mitigation that demand-side measures, including of course policies, but indeed the adoption of sustainable lifestyles has a huge contribution that it can make in reducing carbon emissions globally. And therefore, indeed, it is our effort that the Mission Life should become a global mass movement. And, I'd like to share that, as a part of the Jan Bhagidari and to propagate the idea of sustainable lifestyles, we will be, organizing a global, across the G20, a campaign on beach cleaning to draw the attention of the world towards marine plastic litter and why we should give up the use of single-use plastics so as to prevent marine littering. So on a given day, on May 21st, throughout the G20 countries, all the 20 G20 countries, the 9 invited countries, and all the 13 coastal states and UTs of India, we will take up coordinated beach cleaning activities to draw the attention of the world to this problem of marine plastic littering, the impact that it has on our oceans and the coastal economy, and how we should change our lifestyles to give up single-use plastic, adopt alternatives. So this is one way in which we want to take forward the message of Mission Life through an action-oriented initiative during India's G20 presidency.
Absolutely. Dr. Kanakia, Green Billions comes up with innovative solutions for a sustainable future. Tell us about some of the innovative ideas that your organization has come up with in the past and how G20 as a platform can further build on those ideas.
Munmun, first of all, if I could just, in a crisper way, second the thoughts put up by Richa-ji. Yes, I'm also a firm believer, a propagator of the fact that we need to be, we need to push the personal social responsibility on an individual level. Enough of holding the corporates or the companies or the industries responsible for what is happening across the globe. Unless everyone contributes, unless there's an inclusive and collective effort towards this endeavor of climate resilience, or in fact to put up this climate resilience, things won't change. And to take this up, I basically had floated the Green Billions Limited after listening to Barack Obama while he had signed the Paris Accord on climate change. I could understand that climate change is a real threat. So after that, since then, in fact, we've been aggregating various solutions, disruptive and superlative solutions, and doing various research and development and taking up joint exercises with international institutions to come up with disruptive superlative solutions for their commercial adaptability and sustained revenue-based models for our country to name, like I said, we've come up with, we've developed India's highest heat reflective paint. So if you apply it on concrete, it reflects 92.7% of heat, acts an insulator. And then, like I said, the most superlative attempt of ours is now we've signed a public-private concession with Pune Municipal Corporation, and going to produce green hydrogen out of municipal solid waste. And the best part is that we have developed these processes. We've worked on and with two of our premier institutions like Bhabha Atomic Research Center and Indian Institute of Science, Bengaluru. So these two institutions are backing us up, when it comes to adoption of their existing technologies. We've created hybrid processes to achieve this mission, henceforth calling ourselves Atmanirbhar. This project of mine caters to four larger ambitions of the Government of India, starting with Swachh Bharat, then Atal Mission on Urban Regeneration and Transformation, National Green Hydrogen Mission, Mission, and Atmanirbhar Bharat. So we've not borrowed these technologies from elsewhere in the world. We have worked with our own institutions and trying to make lives better. What better, what bigger can it be that we recycle the waste of our own city and blend it back to the city gas distribution, or maybe, let's say, fire the industries. So an apt example of the circular economy, or establishing the biggest fundamental of circular economy. Because one has to understand, it is just not about pacifying the carbon emission. It is about solid waste, or municipal solid waste emits methane, which is technically 25% more detrimental, harmful, and hazardous to the environment. So achieving a superlative alternate fuel like hydrogen out of municipal solid waste can be the biggest example of the kind of impact this process or our effort has.
Right.
So idea is to put in a mouth where put in money where our mouth is, and we put our skin in the game.
Absolutely. Ms. Sharma, would India be showcasing some of these indigenous best practices at the G20? Because he was speaking about the circular economy, which again is a focus area. And I remember Prime Minister Narendra Modi made a mention of India's focus on circular economy in one of his recent Independence Day addresses. And the Niti Aayog has made 11 committees for action plans as far as 11 sectors are concerned in circular economy. So is this also going to be a focus area, showcasing indigenous achievements?
Indeed, you see, every G20 meeting offers an opportunity to host certain side events. So we will have a full day devoted to a side event on resource efficiency and circular economy. And that will be an opportunity for us to showcase what our own private sector, for example, is doing to come up with solutions in the, to promote circularity, but also what policy measures we are taking in support of circular economy. So yes, there would be opportunities for that kind of sharing indeed. There will similarly be a side event in the Bangalore meeting, which is going to happen from 9th to 11th, and that would be an opportunity to showcase the work that India is doing in conservation of biodiversity and in restoration of degraded mine sites, as well as in preventing forest fires. So G20 is an opportunity not only to share what India is doing, but also to learn from the experiences of other countries. Together, the G20 countries have to come together to exhibit global leadership and take strong actions to combat the most important climate and environmental challenges of the day. So yes, there will be ample opportunities to showcase India's own actions in the field of resource efficiency and circular economy, and oceans resilience, as well as land degradation. Thank you.
In the Voice of Global South Summit, Ms. Sharma, Bhupendra Yadav, the Environment Minister, spoke again on the pressing need to share technological support and financial support from the developed world to the developing countries. India has been the voice of the developing South on this particular issue as well. And recently it was said by External Affairs Minister as well as the Prime Minister, that the common but differentiated responsibility should be a principle that should apply to all the challenges, not just the challenge of climate change. And of course, in the context of climate change, traditionally India and the developing world has maintained this as a key principle. Now, is this going to be a major focus area for India as G20 president?
You see, G20 is not a negotiating group, unlike in the UNFCCC. In UNFCCC, countries take positions on the basis of, the principles of the convention. However, it is a fact that actions of the G20 countries, which are a broad range of developed and emerging economies, have to be undertaken in the context of CBDRRC. Every country needs to enhance its climate ambition as per its domestic national circumstances, but we all know that we are not on track to achieve the temperature goals of the Paris Agreement. So G20 accounts for over 80% of the global emissions and over 85% of the global GDP. So it is for this bloc to show leadership in ambition and in implementation to the rest of the world, because most of the contribution to emissions is coming from the G20. So yes, we must take actions as per the principle of common but differentiated responsibilities, but we must also do the best that we can within our national priorities.
Right. You were talking about the side events that will accompany the working group meeting in Bengaluru. I understand that the G20 delegates will be taken to the Bannerghatta park, where they will be shown the butterfly park as well as the animal safaris there. So is practical experience going to be a key component of India's G20 deliberations?
That is a fact, because you see, for a half day, we will be meeting in a conference mode where the discussions would be more theoretical, conceptual. But then in the other half, there would be a site visit and an excursion. So a site visit would actually demonstrate what India is doing for ecosystem restoration, forest conservation, what do we do to combat forest fires, and of course to showcase our efforts in wildlife conservation. So it's a mix of a technical site visit as well as a small excursion. So that's how we are going to structure all our side events. So the side event of the Gandhinagar meeting would be on water. So a lot of water related, there would be interaction with the beneficiaries of the Narmada Valley, for example, at Gandhinagar. So there would be a lot of showcasing by way of site visits, but also a more conceptual discussion in a conference mode. That's the model that we'll be adopting throughout.
Absolutely, and India will also be raising the voice of the Global South, particularly after the Voice of the Global South Summit. Thank you so much, Ms. Sharma, and Dr. Kanakia. Thank you so much for your inputs as well.
Thank you.
Let's move on. G20 business leaders met in Gandhinagar, Gujarat today for the B20 inception meeting. The theme of B20, formed under the aegis of G20 India, is RAISE, which is responsible, accelerated, innovative, sustainable and equitable businesses. Established in 2010, B20 is the official G20 dialogue forum with the global business community on economic and trade governance. In the opening session of the B20 India inception meeting, Union IT and Communications Minister Ashwini Vaishnav said that India has taken 4 approaches to resolve some of the pressing problems, which include approaches towards economic management, digital economy, regulation in digital economy and new technologies. He also highlighted the investment growth in the country.
Quarterly private investment in the country was somewhere around 180 billion US pre-COVID. Now that has come to 240 billion US quarterly investment. So that is significant jump. Credit offtake has increased to practically multi-year high to almost 17% year on year. That's again a very good jump. The investment as a percentage of GDP has grown from 26% to 31%. That again is a good structural change in the economy.
Addressing the inaugural session, Union Minister Piyush Goyal asked businesses to adopt a sustainable and green approach in business practices. He underscored that businesses have decided to set up manufacturing in India are growing due to India's competitiveness and ability to innovate and design new products. He also shared the 4 I's driving India's growth, which are massive investments in infrastructure, focus on integrity, inclusive development and international outlook. Listen in.
The international outlook that Prime Minister Modi has brought to the table. So the 4 I's massive investment on infrastructure, focus on high levels of integrity, inclusive development, and international outlook will actually add tremendous wings to help the Indian economy possibly do even better than the numbers on a business as usual case.
India, as the G20 Sherpa Amitabh Kant, has spelled out challenges before the global business community, calling for tremendous digital transformation, climate action and making global value chains resilient. He said as G20's most prominent engagement group, B20 or Business 20, has a critical role in deliberations as the voice of the global business community. Listen in.
The most critical and the most important of all the working groups and all the engagement groups that drive G20 is the Business 20 group. At this point of time, when the world is facing the challenge of inclusive, resilient, and rapid growth, there is no better group to accelerate growth and progress of the world than the Business 20. And therefore, to my mind, there are just a few challenges before all of us. First and foremost, there's a major need, as the Indian priority spells out, that there is a need to go digital. There's a need to use digital transformation in a very big way to accelerate growth and progress.
And with that, we come to the close of this edition of India at G20. We'll see you again tomorrow, same time on DD India. Thanks for watching.